Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking once again about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Now, to be very clear, I do not want this to become a Prince Harry and Meghan Markle channel. I'm personally not super invested in the royal family, the happenings. I don't deeply care. The reason why we're talking about it today, however, is that I think we are really getting close to, I don't know if I want to say a turning point or a point of no return. Now, what has happened in the past few days has been absolutely insane in the sense of there have been so many things coming up on my timeline. Again, without me searching them, there's a lot. This is by no means supposed to be a comprehensive video of every single thing that's ever been said on planet Earth. But I did want to talk about how this is getting, to a degree, out of control. Also because we're going to talk about how people are treating this entire situation. So there was an article posted on The Telegraph. Now, that article, for some reason, I don't know if it was taken down, but the link I found for it is on Archive Today. So I can link that to you, but it's not posted like a normal link to a magazine, journal, whatever. So I don't know if this was taken down. I don't know what the story is. It wouldn't surprise me if it had been taken down, considering some of the allegations we're going to see about Harry and Harry's behavior in terms of the media and how they report specifically about Meghan Markle. We're going to be talking about the charity Sentebale, which we'll get all the details on, but basically this is the key point of all the quote-unquote drama, if you want to call it that, with Harry and Meghan Markle right now. It's to do with charity, which is why it's so, I want to say, dangerous to their reputation and such big news as opposed to a bunch of other fuck shit that people talk about. Because here we're dealing with charity and people who steal from charities or do not act appropriately with the people they're collaborating with in charities. Those people don't really get a lot of social grace, even if they are ex-royals or whatever we want to call Harry. Prince sent unpleasant and imperious message to charity boss. Duke of Sussex allegedly demanded Sentebale chairman explain herself after she refused to issue statement defending his wife. The Duke of Sussex allegedly sent an unpleasant and imperious message to the head of an African charity he founded after she refused to issue a statement defending his wife, the Telegraph can reveal. Prince Harry directly contacted Dr. Sophie Chandaka, chairman of Sentebale, following an awkward exchange she had with the Duchess of Sussex at a charity polo match in Miami last April. He initially asked his team to contact the Zimbabwean-born lawyer and request she issue a statement, quashing any rumors of tension between her and the Duchess. However, after she refused to be drawn into the row, Prince Harry fired a direct message to her, allegedly demanding that she explain herself. According to sources, the note was unpleasant in tone and used imperious language that left the charity boss feeling taken aback. The Telegraph understands that her refusal to comply with a request to back Meghan contributed to the bitter dispute that this week saw the Duke resign as head of the HIV children's charity he co-founded almost 2 decades ago. So if you've been on social media at all, you might have come across the really awkward video of Meghan Markle and Harry at the polo event, where Dr. Chandaka was there, and there was just a very awkward situation of who's holding the trophy. It looks like Meghan tries to hold the trophy, or she tries to hold a box. I'll just show you the clip. It's very messy, it's very disorganized, and it just doesn't come off as particularly well done, especially because we later find out, and we'll discuss this more, we later find out that Meghan wasn't supposed to be there in the first place, so she showed up, which is part of why this is so messy, but also because you show up uninvited and then you make Dr. Chandaka feel like the odd one out. Here we discuss that particular moment, which has gone viral online. The awkward Miami moment. Tensions between the charity's chairman and its co-founder became apparent last April when Prince Harry captained the winning side at the Sentebale charity polo match in Miami. The Duchess, who had not been expected to attend the event, turned up at short notice, accompanied by a camera crew from the couple's Netflix documentary. Serena Williams, the 7-time Wimbledon champion and friend of the Duchess, was also present at the match. According to one source, Meghan spent much of the afternoon chatting to Miss Williams, occasionally asking the organizers to bring her champagne, but problems arose at the end of the match when players and their partners gathered on the podium for a post-match photograph. In an exchange captured on camera, Meghan appeared to instruct Dr. Chandaka to move away from the Duke as he celebrated his win. The Duchess was filmed asking Dr. Chandaka to move to the other side of her husband, forcing the charity chairman to duck under the trophy to switch position. The brief encounter generated huge publicity, and behind the scenes, the Sussexes were said to be furious at the way it had appeared. The Telegraph understands that a member of Prince Harry's team initially asked Dr. Chandaka to issue a statement dismissing any suggestions of tension, but Dr. Chandaka, who felt she had been treated with disrespect during the charity day, refused, saying she did not wish to become an extension of the Sussex PR machine. The Duke then contacted her directly to complain about her actions, with sources describing the message as unpleasant. A spokesman for Sentebale confirmed the Duke had sent the message. "This is true. There is a document," they said. Sentebale was launched in 2006 after the Duke spent his gap year volunteering at an orphanage in Lesotho. However, on Tuesday, he issued a statement explaining he was standing down as patron because the relationship between the charity's trustees and the chair of the board had broken down beyond repair. So there are a lot of things that I don't think are worthy of critique with Meghan Markle, not because I particularly like her or Harry or because I have a big investment, other than I think it's interesting culturally to see the type of investment there is in all of this. But for example, she cooked or baked. Listen, I don't cook or bake for shit, so don't clock me on terminology. But she baked, allegedly, this cake, right? And as you can see, the borders of the cake are burned or whatever. Honestly, I don't think this is important. I don't think this is interesting. However, in the caption, she said that she was celebrating Mother's Day, UK Mother's Day, and then people got pissed because basically they thought, why are you pretending to be British? You're not British. This isn't your Mother's Day. You left England specifically to be away from the royal family. Why are you now participating in something that kind of pertains to your prior life that you wanted to escape? People were confused about that. And then aside from that, there have been allegations all along with the Netflix special that she doesn't cook her own stuff. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't cook her own things. But again, in the context of this charity scandal, the burnt pie or whatever the fuck it is, I don't really think it's that important, and I don't think it's that interesting. And that's kind of why I also wanted to talk about this, is that while there are very valid critiques of Meghan Markle and Harry, I also think some people go way too far into this nitpicking, which then ends up undermining their valid critique. So a valid critique would be, hey, she shouldn't have showed up to an event unannounced. So maybe she hadn't RSVP'd or whatever she had to do. But that's actively something that you can critique, because having a royal, ex-royal there causes organizational mayhem, just even for security. Think about the type of security you'd need to have. Think about the fact that they came in with the Netflix cameras. There are people there who probably didn't want to be filmed. Nobody consented to that because, again, they didn't know she was coming. So there are all these things that are valid of critique because they speak to an entitlement of, hey, I'm going to show up. I'm going to complicate an event that's yours, that's your day, quote unquote, the charity's day, and I'm going to make it about me. Now that's worthy of critiquing. On the other hand, critiquing a pie, it's in the larger context, like I said, with this charity situation, who gives a fuck about the pie? Who gives a fuck about her celebrating Mother's Day or not celebrating Mother's Day in the UK, or the UK version of Mother's Day? And I think the important thing when we talk about this is to create a division of what is worth critiquing and what isn't, because there are certainly people online who are obsessive about critiquing her about things that are really unimportant, which I also think is funny because there are plenty of valid things to critique her for. So it's not like you need to really nitpick a pie. There are plenty of things, fucking first page newspaper stories that you can critique her for. You don't need to go after the pie. Prince Harry wanted to eject me. On Sunday, amid claims that the charity trustees had been briefing against Dr. Chandaka, who was appointed chairman in 2023, she went on the offensive, accusing the Duke of trying to eject her through bullying and harassment. She suggested the Sussex brand was toxic and was putting off potential sponsors from backing the charity. Speaking on Sky News with Trevor Phillips' program, Dr. Chandaka said, really, what Prince Harry wanted to do was to eject me from the organization, and this went on for months. It went on for months through bullying, harassment. I have documentation. Honestly, I'm really glad that someone is standing up to Harry. I would see the possibility where Harry kind of tries to strong-arm someone to make a statement defending his wife, because essentially, what Meghan Markle is at the moment is just a walking PR disaster. In whatever situation she's in, it will turn into mayhem. And I think some of that has to do with entitlement, showing up at an event unannounced, especially when it comes to just security, let alone everything else. especially with a documentary crew following you. Everything she touches turns into a scandal. Now, like I said before, some of that I think is people being obsessive, like the fucking pie. Some of that, though, like here, is really just disregard and ill manners and a lack of self-awareness, in my opinion. And even in the video that I showed prior, but you're there as a supporting character, but it's almost like she never accepts that she's a supporting character in certain situations. You know, like if you're going to your boyfriend's polo match, your husband's polo match, you're a supporting character because he's the one playing. That doesn't mean she's always that, but I feel like she thinks she's always that, and that's why she always has to try and upstage anyone, including this entire charity situation. And that is worth critiquing. So this is Dr. Chandaka, also criticized the manner of Prince Harry's resignation, saying, "The only reason I'm here is because at some point on Tuesday, Prince Harry authorized the release of a damaging piece of news to the outside world without informing me or my country directors or my executive director. And can you imagine what that attack has done for me, on me, and the 540 individuals in the Sentebale organizations and their family? That is an example of harassment and bullying at scale." I know I've brought up the pie situation multiple times, and I do think the reason why people are hanging on to the pie thing is because there's been a long-going theory that Meghan isn't cooking her own stuff on the show and that she's not this mother she presents herself to be, which is also shown in this one clip or a picture. I'll put it on the screen where she's like taking carrots out of the ground and she's not wearing gloves and they look like store-bought carrots, so people think it's basically a fraud of a picture, right? When there are scandals about food like that seem apparently silly, as much as I don't think we should super focus on them, I also think they point to a bigger thing of general dishonesty. And for that, I can understand why people are critical. If you're gonna lie about baking your own pies, or when you do bake your own pies, magically they don't look as good as what we see on Netflix, or if you're gonna lie about these carrots coming from the earth, how are we supposed to trust you about bigger stuff? So I understand that point. We already know that there's some shit that's off here. Like, I don't think anyone had implicit trust, right? And I think that goes for any royal family. So, to make matters worse, amidst all of this, now basically it seems like Prince Harry has enlisted an ex-schoolmate at Eton to defend him or do PR for him. Here I'll show you a screenshot of one of the articles in relation to all of this, so if you want to pause and read all of that. But this guy, Rayner, so he went, like I said, he went to school with Harry. He's making a number of claims defending Harry. One of those claims, for example, is that Harry bringing the documentary crew actually would have done great PR for the charity. And he basically doubts what Dr. Chandaka says because Dr. Chandaka said that this news that they want to bring the Netflix crew sent everyone into a crisis because the venue was not contractually signed up as a commercial venue, which it becomes a commercial venue if you are bringing your Netflix crew with you. So then they ended up losing the venue because of Harry's quote-unquote stunt or necessity to include the Netflix documentary crew. So there are a number of events similar to this where Harry is actively making everything more difficult for this charity work to occur. Rayner also goes on to say that basically Harry brings a level of attention even though he's now considered a pariah. Pariah is the word he used, by the way. And it's like, okay, but just because you bring attention to a charity because you're there and there's chaos, to be honest, how many people do you think are donating to Sentebale because of this? I hope people are, and I hope Dr. Chandaka can find a better person to replace Harry. That being said, when scandals like this happen, we know the name Sentebale now. Maybe we'll get more attention, more PR, but also we can't thank quote-unquote Harry, and we can't undermine how damaging his behavior along with Meghan Markle's was and pretend like, oh, they still brought attention so everybody wins, because that's actually not the case at all, especially because it is at the cost of Dr. Chandaka, who had to deal with all these last-minute things, like the change of venue, like last-minute Meghan showing up. There are all these things that do not justify this behavior at all. And at the end of the day, I think Harry and Meghan's behavior is just entitled and self-centered, which, granted, you're celebrities or whatever you want to call yourself, but you don't get to be relatable and then also act this way. So if you want to act this way, go ahead, but you're not going to be relatable. And I think a big part of what's causing people to be pissed off is that in the Netflix show with Love Meghan, Meghan tries so hard to be relatable, but then she does shit like this, and it's like, okay, well, you're sending mixed messages and the public doesn't know what to think of you and what to think of your actions. So whenever you do anything, it comes off as fake because we don't know where real is. And I think that that's another problem that they're not really addressing. Anyway, I suggest reading this article if you want. I will link it down below. I found it on a Twitter thread. Another thing that's important to note relative to Rayner and his PR strategies is that if you look at the article effectively, there isn't really much of a response to what Dr. Chandaka said in terms of the bullying and the harassment tactics. It's more launching new allegations, right? Saying that Dr. Chandaka is lying about losing the venue or lying about multiple things. And that's interesting because they're not actually refuting any of her claims. They're just throwing out new claims. And that's something that a lot of the public is holding on to because it's like, hey, if you want to clear your name, you're going to have to address things that are being said about you. You don't just get to throw insults or whatever their way and think that we're all going to forget whatever she's claiming, right? So that is also what makes all of this 10 times more suspicious, though I really don't know many people who are inclined to believe Meghan Markle and Harry at this point. This is a silly thing, but I noticed that on a lot of posts, people are calling Meghan Rachel. And initially I was confused because I was like, who the fuck is Rachel? And then you find out that that's actually her name, which is not a big deal in and of itself. People change their names all the time or go by their middle name, whatever. Nobody cares. The thing is that all these little details that people find, like with the pie or the carrots or the name, is like what we're seeing of Meghan Markle. It seems like none of it is authentic. And I think that that's part of what the media is hanging on to. And I think that that's why there are also people going into over-analysis mode, because everything that's presented to us almost always seems to have an asterisk of, yeah, it's like this, but, and then there's like a paragraph of, but actually it's not like this because this, and this. So it's very much like the meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, this one. And obviously some people have fallen too deep into that hole because I also don't think every single thing is meaningful. Like I said before, the reason why I'm talking about this is because it does have to do with a charity. There's also allegations about like them pocketing money from the charity. I haven't really found articles that can confirm that, so I'm really not going to make any of those claims. But there is suspicious behavior, and I think that this transcends any level of drama or silly pie shit. This is more like, okay, where is the morality? Are we completely morally bankrupt? Like, how are you trying to somehow redeem yourselves with this silly cooking show that Meghan has, but also then you act like this? And so it's like, where are people supposed to land? Like, how ideally are people supposed to think of you when you guys are pulling shit like this all the time? And like I said, the only reason I got interested in this, apart from seeing all the hate for her with Love Meghan, it was also looking into this and seeing, okay, are there actually valid critiques beyond, why are you wearing white if you're cooking? You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.